This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Mass Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, welcome to The Clash, where we take a Christian worldview and allow it to clash into the culture around us. And when we're done, hopefully we will educate, entertain, inform, and maybe, just maybe, strengthen you in your journey of faith. I'm Jeff Dixon, and I'm one of the hosts of this show. But as always, the real talent sits on the other side of the table. It's the one and only saint himself, Chris Whaley, Dr. Chris Whaley. How are you doing, Chris?
Everybody knows that's not true.
No,
yeah.
It is true. It is true. I mean, because you even drag in for the filming when you're beat up and you got the face thing happening here. What's going on?
Yep. I thought she said stand up, and she really said shut up. So, no. I had a skin cancer cut off, and so I look a little like Quasimodo at the moment, but I'm going to get better.
Good.
And, hey, I'm just looking forward to today. You know, we do political stuff every now and then, and do you think what we're doing today kind of falls in that political?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because we do a lot of interviews, we do a lot of topics. I mean, we're kind of, we're a talk show, I guess. And so, but sometimes we kind of take current events and politics and pull it into the moment. And today is one of those shows. So, so the release of this show, what is in the headlines, or one of the things in the headlines right now, is what's happening in Greenland.
Right.
And for the first time in a long time, there are people that are hearing about Greenland and they're thinking, well, why does Greenland even matter?
Right.
So creatively, we have named this show, Why Does Greenland Matter, right?
Yeah, Why Does Greenland Matter?
And so that's what we're going to cover. So hopefully for you, if you watch the news and you've been hearing about it, this will be helpful. If you don't watch the news and you have no idea why Greenland is in the news,
stick around.
Yeah, you stick around.
Yeah.
And if you think to yourself, man, I hate this idea that the U.S. is getting involved with Greenland, stick around too. We got some stuff I think we're going to say in the next couple of minutes are going to help you think about this from a biblical standpoint of all things. But before we do, we go to this.
Jeff, did you ever in your wildest imagination think that one day we would have this great TV show called The Clash, and you could actually buy T-shirts and stuff that had The Clash on? Did you ever think that?
Yeah, when I was 3 years old, I had a vision.
You did?
That was going to happen one day. No, I'm just kidding. I never thought about that. So.
Hey, it's just awesome, man. I mean, of course, the tagline, "Don't tap out."
Yeah.
On the hat.
Look at that.
Yeah. And then on the back of the hat, it's got The Clash. And I don't know, what you got?
Well, I've been sitting around thinking about, how could you think about The Clash 24 hours a day and at the same time hydrate?
Oh, wow.
This cup right there, look at there.
How awesome is that?
That's a mini tumbler right there.
Wow.
But you could get a coffee cup.
You know what? I need to get one of those to pour the coffee into it so it keeps it.
You also could get a mug though. If you're a mug guy, you can get a mug.
Yeah.
You get a big taller tumbler that you can walk around. And so when you're walking around drinking stuff with our logo on it, people say, "What is The Clash?" And they could tell you all about the TV show.
So you need to look at that little QR code down at the bottom of your screen, and you just get your camera, your phone out, you put it on camera, and you look at that, and a little thing will come up, and you touch that, takes you right to the store. It's so easy, even I can do it.
There you go.
Hey, welcome back to The Clash. And Jeff, I'm just going to start it off and ask you, why Greenland is suddenly in the global spotlight? Why is that?
Well, I mean, it's intriguing because most people, Chris, I don't think know a lot about Greenland. I mean, we just know it's big and we know it is cold. so it's not really green, but it is cold. So let me quick background. Okay.
Yep.
Greenland is the world's largest island, so people know. It is strategically positioned between the Atlantic and the Arctic Oceans, which again is part of the reason that it's a big deal right now. The ice-covered landscapes and resources right now are kind of relevant in global politics, and so that it becomes an issue. The Inuit people are I guess, the indigenous people to the area. But Greenland, in some ways, is standing at the crossroads of traditional lifestyles and a rapidly changing world. And so all of a sudden, as a nation, an island nation, it becomes much more relevant in the news and the geopolitical world of today. And so over the next couple of minutes, we want to kind of explore why the geopolitical piece has become so important. Why Greenland, I don't want to say is about to be disruptive or turned upside down, but why all of a sudden it is the topic that everyone seems to be talking about, not just in America, but in other nations as well, and why that matters. And so for us, it gives us a chance to kind of talk about, politics and the day and how we got here, but then kind of talk about, what's important about Greenland.
Well, let me see if I can start it off with this question, and I hope that you can answer it.
Probably not.
Well, President Trump's interest in Greenland, it's not about land ownership,
Right.
for its own sake, but he has highlighted deeper issues such as security, resources, and even influence. I mean, was that a true statement, or?
No, it's a true statement, and I think in fairness, the politics of the day, and we've done episodes on elections and Trump and different topics. President Trump, whether you're a fan or whether you're not a fan, he's not hard to figure out. He is a product of business and the media, and so he knows how to play media organizations in a way that nobody who has ever stepped on the world stage knows how. Okay,
true statement.
And so when Trump wants to get people thinking about something, he will come out with some broad, brash statement that all of a sudden you weren't thinking about it yesterday, but you're thinking about it today. And it kind of starts with that. Yep, I think that Greenland needs to be our next state, or America's going to take over Greenland.
Yeah.
And then, press kind of goes nuts a little bit. They start asking questions. All the politicians start reacting to it. And then the press starts pushing him. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to take it over. Yeah, we need to have a bigger presence there. And, we're better for Greenland than Denmark is. And we can take care of Greenland where nobody else can. And he starts laying this stuff out. But he gives you these bite-sized pieces, and the world just kind of explodes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very much on purpose.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, he has a target that he's aiming at. There's something he wants to accomplish.
Right.
So to get there, he understands media well enough to know, I'm going to make the big statement, I'm going to bring this into the spotlight, and when it's said and done, I'm going to try to cut a deal to get us exactly where we want to be. And I think the strength of that is, if you are dealing with things that are true and real and important, that your ideas can stand up and rise above name-calling and blabbering and, kind of getting down in the gutter and rolling a little bit. And I think that when people start reacting to him, like, he's nation-building, they are completely clueless about history. They're completely clueless about what this is all about. And that's really what we're hearing on some side of the media aisles.
All right. I thought it was interesting. This is the week of Davos, being in Switzerland. And I watched the news that morning, that very first morning that Trump arrived, and then they actually had some guy on there who said something very vulgar about President Trump and, the Greenland thing. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how is this going to go? And then the next thing I know, Trump is in the spotlight making a speech, and that afternoon, there's a deal made.
He's got a deal. Yeah. And again, which is ultimately what he was aiming for the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, and that either means that he is just a lot better at playing the game than these other lawmakers and leaders are.
Right.
And I don't know, I guess depending on whether you like him or not, that either makes him a genius or an evil genius or wherever you think he is. But at the end of the day, he does something that no one else has been able to do. Because ultimately, when you mentioned defense a minute ago, Greenland's location as an island nation is essential for United States defense.
Right.
It really is. Threats from Russia, threats from China, as nations where they're trying to push their global influence and push in. I mean, what happens there
Very important.
really is very important. We have one major base, Thule Air Base, serves as our key military asset. And one of the things that Trump has voiced that he wants to do is increase that presence to make bigger that presence for the very reason that Russia and China are running with an agenda that wants some global domination. And so that becomes the playground where this needs to be taking place. We need a place where we can put in this Golden Dome defense system that he's been talking about.
Right.
For him to accomplish that, Greenland was an essential piece of that puzzle, and he knew that from the very beginning. When he first said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create this dome, this defense dome, he knew before he ever mentioned Greenland that this was essential. And then the other piece is, there is minerals, oil, gas, and resources there that with the right help and the right assistance, it becomes very lucrative not only for America, because there's a win-win there, but also for the people of Greenland.
Right.
To be able to tap into resources with our assistance that they can't get any other way.
Right.
And no one else is going to step up. And of course, Denmark, I guess they're under the Denmark flag there, but I mean, Denmark can't do it.
No.
And so I think when you start thinking about the opportunities for the future and what that looks like, as that all came together, that's what prompts this deal that he ended up for Greenland. And so that's kind of why Greenland matters. But for us, I think it starts with defense, much more than the resources. I think that is secondary.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the other piece of the puzzle that we lose sometimes is that, when you are a superpower, when you have the responsibility of a superpower, then, when you have great power, there's great responsibility. And so part of that is not only our defense, but then, the positioning yourself to be able to defend, culture, civilization from threats. And so, all of that, I think, is woven into this madness that we've been hearing about on TV.
And it's, what's amazing to me, whenever we bought Alaska, and I don't remember the dates or anything, but I just know when we bought Alaska, they had about 60,000 people in Alaska. And now there's about 1 million, I think, in Alaska.
It was Stewart's Folly, I think they called it, wasn't it? When they bought it, was like, this is a horrible deal. Why would we want Alaska, of all places?
Right. And now, Greenland has about 57,000 people.
There's not a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's 3 times the size of Texas.
That's huge.
So
it's huge.
It's a huge island.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people's heads are exploding in politics, especially, the Democratic Party. Their heads are exploding. But a lot of the Europeans, their heads are exploding too over this, how Trump did this, right underneath their nose.
Yeah, well, but again, for Trump, it came right out of his playbook. This is the way he operates.
Part of the deal, yeah.
But, but when we started, we talked about how, but if your ideas are good, you can put them under the microscope, and if you're really operating out of truth, you're going to be able to defend your ideas, and it's going to be reasonable sound, even if you don't agree, right? There's an argument. And so, any dunderhead that says, Trump is just nation building, okay, they really aren't qualified to be in the conversation. They need to go sit at the little kids' table and sit there. Let the adults who understand the complexities of this geopolitical world we live in handle it. So you kind of push them aside, and they're out there, man. They're loud, they're crazy, they're proud of who they are and what they do.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, they don't really have a voice that's coherent. They just don't like Trump. You have to ask the bigger questions, because when we laid out the defense piece, the resource piece, and the importance of our role in that, those are the kind of questions that we can debate. Those are the kind of questions that we might agree or disagree on. But that really is where the conversation has to begin and where it has to start. Because if the conclusion is that Russia and China are threats,
and they are,
then we need to do anything and everything we can to have the best defensive posture.
Right.
If there are resources that will help the people of Greenland, and if there's the plus side of those of the resources will help the United States, we have the means and the ways to make that profitable for everyone.
And just as we have the shipping lanes in the south through the Panama Canal, this would enable us to have the shipping lanes in the north.
Yeah.
So it's
and
very,
the
very
shipping lanes is certainly, I think that's an issue that's on the table. And that's part of why Greenland matters. But there's still more to this story.
Okay.
And so let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll just kind of talk a little bit more about Greenland. Hopefully you're learning a little bit, and hopefully we're at least causing you to stop and think just a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep thinking, stick with us.
Hey, I'm Chris Whaley. I went from professional wrestling for 10 years, wrestling some of the biggest names in the business, 4 world champions. And I left the wrestling world to become a pastor. And I wrote a book about that transition, because when I became a pastor, I found out that there were some people being abused and people being mistreated. And I ended up dealing with some people more as a professional wrestler than I did as a pastor. And I wrote a book about that transition called The Masked Saint. And it's available along with my other book, which is Harold's Heavenly Christmas. If you like Christmas stories, you're going to love this one, and one day it's going to be a movie. And then my last book is Mr. President. Has 2 lives, a comedian and the world heavyweight wrestling champion. And it is a great read. Hey, welcome back to The Clash. And I'm glad that Jeff Dixon is here, because he's so knowledgeable and he has helped me understand this, and hopefully we're helping you understand a little bit more about Greenland. And Jeff, I'm going to start it off with this.
Okay.
Now, we know that Greenland contains vast, untapped resources. So here's the question. As Christians, how should we think about resource development versus environmental stewardship?
Yeah. Well, I think the Christian answer to that is we have to think about both in very healthy ways. Obviously, the biblical mandate is for man, humankind, to use the resources and manage the resources of the earth. We're entrusted by God to do that.
Right.
I am often bothered by the fact that Christians aren't real good at being the responsible people to do that. We've kind of seem to farm that out to other people to make those decisions for us as followers. And I think that's wrong, because I think the intent is that God wants godly people who know him making those decisions.
Right.
Okay. But that's my Christian worldview.
Yep.
Okay.
And I like it.
Okay. So I think we do have a responsibility to be aware of the resources that are there and to tap into them for some things we talked about in the opening segment. From an American standpoint, yes. Are those resources valuable to America, and do they have worth? Yes. Are they valuable, and those vast mineral resources needed? Yes. So do we benefit? Yes. But then we also said, and I think this is wildly important, that for Greenland as a nation, to tap into those resources will allow them some economic stability and some growth that they currently don't have the ability to have.
Right.
And it begs the question, well then, are we imposing American will by making them grow? And I think the answer to that is no, simply because whether as a people or a nation they want to or not, there are some powers that are pushing upon them, and it's Russia, and it's China, and it's America, and it's Denmark. there's a push and pull going on where something is going to break. And so this is now what is best,
Right.
And what is safest for them. And I think if you take a look at the track record of China, Russia, and America, who will do a better job at marketing and manufacturing those resources, it would be America. I love American ingenuity, and I love American manufacturing, and I love American business. So, but I'm American, no doubt about it. And so I think we're a better fit there. But the other thing about it is too, we do have an opportunity and we have a responsibility to take good care then of the earth.
Right.
And I think for Christians, we need to be very mindful of how we do things. The truth is, America has stronger standards and better standards as to how we do things than anybody in the world. And I think that when people get crazy about, America being good with the environment, we're better than everybody else in the world with the environment.
Hands down.
So that is one of those gum flapping, nobody cares what you're saying anymore because you're just talking and spitting in the wind.
Right.
So I think that as a nation, we will come forward and do that. But then I also think that as followers too, we hold some votes and some accountability for the leaders we put into place, because if they don't do it well, we then have the power, or at least should exercise the voice and authority to say, you're going to need to do it better. And the burden of proof is on, American business and industry to get it right. So, I think for Christians, that really is an essential question. Because, we're Christian first. And so I think, I'll ask it back to you. So should we be able then as followers to use the resources that are there and available? And but we do have a responsibility to do it better and well to the best of our ability.
Right.
Yeah. And I think if those are the answers we're trying to come up with, that's the standard we use.
Right.
I think it works.
Yep.
But let me ask about, you mentioned it earlier in the last segment. I'm intrigued with the shipping lanes because, again, ice is always freezing, melting. Climate change activists are going to say, it's melting, which means there's more shipping lanes open up. So if you're a climate change activist, you need to be concerned about that because everybody wants control of those shipping lanes.
Right.
I'm not in that camp of climate change from the standpoint that I think the world is going to, heat up.
Right.
But I do know that climate is always changing. And so those shipping lanes, whatever they are, really are valuable. Tell me, how do we leverage that? Why is that so important for our defense?
Well, whoever has the authority, what's the old thing? Whoever has the gold is the one in charge.
Yeah.
So the one that has those shipping lanes are the ones in charge, and they are so very, very important from an American standpoint as far as security goes.
Yeah.
Who's going through there and who's not going through there. And so the USA is going to have the upper hand on that, which I like.
Well, yeah, we saw it in the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
I know that one of the things that this administration had to clean up was a kind of spill on the Panama Canal. They came in and all of a sudden you've got China that is really in some ways seized control or had seized control of the Panama Canal after the United States had, of course, done the labor and paid for it and had basically been responsible for opening up that shipping lane, only to have the control of it given to China. And the administration took it back. Everybody didn't like that. They thought it was, throwing your weight around. But at the end of the day, our approach to managing it has been much more fair than China was managing it.
Absolutely.
And so the question would be then, who gets control of the shipping lanes that are up in Greenland? And that would be Russia, China, or the United States.
Yeah.
And then what is better for a global market and economy?
America.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And so I think that too becomes the issue for just not only defense but for shipping and for the access that people are going to have in the days ahead. And I really do think that really is a part of it that has nothing to do with talking points. It is just the reality of this is the world we live in, and what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, and I'm just going to kind of interject this, but I think the people of Greenland would be very happy about this because they'll probably get a McDonald's.
Well, they might. I mean, I think there's a benefit to the people of Greenland that really at this point is even to be determined, because again, we have not really had that kind of green light. And I can't remember the phrase that was being used even in the news reports yesterday, but I think someone said the United States has been granted under this new agreement unlimited access to Greenland to do whatever needed to be done, whatever we wanted to do, for the sake of all these things we've talked about.
Well, is there, what does responsible Christian leadership look like going into Greenland?
well, I'm not sure that any of our politicians are actually qualified to do that.
Well, I thought of it because our audience is predominantly Christian, but what's the Christian thing to do on this?
Well, I mean, I think the Christian stance we have to take is, are we going to support the U.S. government and the leaders that are in place? Right. They're there. Are we able to see and kind of wade into the issues, kind of like we've just kind of briefly tapped upon, that have this kind of importance? And I think for Christians, and again, and I think, and this is going to sound, boy, this sounds really churchy at this point. But think of the opportunities that Christian organizations and Christ faith-based groups might have in the days ahead with the development of Greenland at a level that it is not now. Exactly. And I think that's where, we need Christian businessmen, and we need Christian entrepreneurs, and we need Christians who really do have a heart for reaching the world with the gospel.
Right.
To think very importantly about how does Greenland fit into that? Because now we come back to resources, defense, shipping lanes, and development.
Right.
And so if you're going to take an island nation that will begin to emerge and develop in a way that it never has before,
right.
As Christian leaders, or as Christian leadership goes in, I want Christian leaders to step forward and be at the front lines of that instead of trying to catch up later and trying to come back in after the fact and clean up a mess or clean up something that we should have been at the front end of. And so I think there is an opportunity, a great opportunity, for Christians to be able to step into what's happening there in a way that is untapped and we never have before.
Yeah, I don't know what the religious atmosphere is in Greenland. I have absolutely no idea, but I think what an opportunity for God's people to take advantage of this and to put that Christian influence into a new nation.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, very, very untapped, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it's a brand new mission field because I think the access has been there, but as it develops, the mission opportunities grow, and I think that really is essential because ultimately, I think at the end of the day, the real question is, do they watch The Clash in Greenland? And I think that's where we really have to kind of stop this conversation because that really is the most relevant thing. And I'm sure that President Trump has thought about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
Because I think one of the reasons he wants the Clash needs to come to Greenland.
Yeah.
They may be asking us to be emissaries and ambassadors by the time we're done.
Well, think of the opportunity. People are always saying, "I want to go somewhere I've never been before." I mean, can you imagine Greenland becoming a tourist area? People, they get tired of the hot weather and want to go over there and cool off, or they could open up things for people. I mean, it opens up a whole new area for them.
Well, I think for a Christian entrepreneur, I would be opening up a shop selling long johns immediately. Sell long johns and coats and all those kind of things. I think it's a great opportunity. So.
Hey man, it went by too quick.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we've solved the issue, but at least we've given you something to think about.
Right. That's what we wanted to do.
That's what we wanted to do.
What we wanted to do. So I hope it was interesting for you. Hope you have a great week. Go out and don't tap out.